Yeah, the original is scary and surreal.
but in like a way that's now nostalgic and likable.
I am very disappointed.
Screw this. I'm walking out.
Walked Out, the movie game show podcast.
Welcome to Walked Out, the movie game show podcast. This is the movie game show where we play games based around movies and reviews. Introducing myself, my name is Stuart. I play the same character in every single movie, but it's fine because I was a wrestler at some point. Joining me, he's travelled back in time to get revenge, or maybe to prevent his own birth. Who knows? It's Matt. And finally, you shouldn't have killed his dog. He's here for revenge. It's Ben.
He's Ben Wick. I'm assuming that was what you were going for.
Yeah. Joining us for the very first time, Ben, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good.
All right. So that's why with our new boy Ben this week, that's why I decided to refresh it. We're going to just go to a nice, easy mode. That's why I chose action adventure to bring the podcast back. So all three of you boys have chosen action adventure movies for our first game. Whose review?
Whose review?
Whose review? Where Ben, Matt, and myself this time have picked a movie based around the action adventure theme. They'll read out 3 reviews, 2 of which are real online reviews, and 1 is their own. Our job, and yours at home, is to guess the movie, and for bonus points, we need to guess which review was their review. So, Ben, you get the honor of going first, I think.
Cool. I just want to precede this by saying that I've actually reviewed a short film.
Okay.
And it is Vader Episode 1, Shards of the Past by Star Wars Theory on YouTube.
I hope you're really okay. You know how I feel about that. I hate that. I watched the first part of that series and I loathed it.
I've never even heard of it. That is a series?
You don't want to hear about it. It's just for drooling idiots that like lightsabers.
That is such a thing about Star Wars, is that, like, in the movies, lightsabers aren't that great.
No, I mean, of course not.
Like, they're fine. It's only in the extended universe and then eventually the sequels where they're like, oh yeah, Vader can walk down a hallway and kill everyone, and Mark Hamill can walk down a hallway and kill everyone, but robots this time because it's TV.
So, without further ado, Ben, would you like to hit us with your first review?
Cool. This one is titled Horrible Movie. As someone else who wrote here, this movie plot is rip off other movies. It seems that there is nothing original about this film. Visual effects are good, but the plot of this movie evolves in a very slow pace, with only few surprises. Therefore, this movie is boring. I could have tell the plot of this movie to a friend in 5 minutes. The thing is that this 5 minutes is extended to 2 hours. Not such a disappointment. Not even Morgan Freeman's appearance in this movie could save it. And when I say appearance, I mean appearance, as he may be at the movie for maybe 5 minutes, maybe a little longer. There are a few logical holes in the plot. The story of the movie was the major flaw for me. It seems there wasn't much thought put into it. Filmmakers just patched scenes together with visual effects, somehow following the story enough for this movie to be presented to the public. Previews for this movie were exciting, but the movie itself is a big failure. 1 out of 10.
I have an idea of what this movie might be based alone on the Morgan Freeman cameos.
I can't think of any movies that only have Morgan Freeman in it a bit. All of the movies I've seen with Morgan Freeman in, he's in it a lot.
There's only one that I can think of, and Morgan Freeman's in it a bit at the very beginning and at the very end, if I'm right. I might be wrong. We'll find out with the other 2 reviews. And I remember not liking it as a kid, but I grew to accept it as an adult.
Grew to accept.
But I kind of agree. You'll know what I mean when we get there. But Ben, if you want to hit us with your second review.
Cool. The second review doesn't have a title. It was good.
Interesting stylistic choice. Sorry, go on.
Oh, that was it.
Oh, it was good.
Okay, I've got a feeling neither of those first 2 reviews are you, because I've got a feeling you'd be a bit more articulate.
One has spelling errors and the other's a piss take.
Yeah.
He might be double bluffing, though.
Maybe. All right. Do you want to hit us with your third review, Ben?
Third review is titled an unexpectedly really good movie.
Hmm.
Without revealing any spoilers, I saw this movie out of the blue. Never saw a trailer, and I still haven't. I remember hearing the name of this movie and completely forgetting about it, and just decided to take a chance and watch on cable TV one night. It is a sci-fi movie with a human heart, so you don't need to be a science fiction fan to enjoy it. Also, I am not a Tom Cruise addict, but he does a great job in his usual way. In fact, all of the actors portray their characters very well. There is mystery, action, a little bit of love, and some adventure. The beginning is good, and there is a high point, and the ending of the movie is satisfactory in my opinion. The special effects are executed in a way that do not take away from the story or the plot, and the story does not revolve around them, but rather they are just a part of the story. If you are looking for a good movie to watch, I have to say it is well worth the viewing. Not too predictable. Sit back and relax. You'll enjoy this gem.
Gem.
Okay.
Alright, use of the word gem makes me doubt this is your review, but I've got a feeling it can't be the other two. Matt, do you have any idea?
I mean, I never watched Tom Cruise movies. I mean, the thing is, you've mentioned it's been around since you were a kid, and you've come to accept it.
If I'm right.
Wait, I just want to say, I didn't actually say it's been around since I was a kid.
Oh, Stuart said that.
I said that. Yeah.
You're allowed to pick up clues on what other people are saying because they're dumb enough to say things. And it's action adventure. I'm guessing it's got to be like Mission Impossible or something.
I'm going to make my guess. War of the Worlds. Ben, what is it?
Well, no one is actually correct here.
Ooh.
Really?
The film...
You could have been more vague with your reviews, but okay.
Could I be more vague?
The film is Oblivion.
Huh.
Fuck is Oblivion?
Have you never seen Oblivion?
I've heard of it, but...
I'm going to have to Google Oblivion now.
2013.
Tom Cruise did like a little patch where he did like Oblivion and Live, Die, Repeat, which are two like really good sci-fi films.
Live, Die, Repeat's good. I've never heard of Oblivion. The fuck is this?
I remember Oblivion. It looks as sci-fi generic as you can get, I'll be honest.
Yeah. It does look very generic. Like, it looks like it's set on Planet Grey in all these photos. Also, is Morgan Freeman really only in it for a minute at the beginning? Looking like the fucking Book of Eli guy. Because he is a huge part of this poster. Like,
I'm not disclosing that information at this time.
Oh, come on. I'm not going to watch it. Okay, would you recommend it to our viewers at home? Oblivion.
Wait, no, we have to guess his review first.
Yeah, I'm gonna disclose all of this once you guess which review is mine.
Sorry. I'm going with review number 3.
Yeah, I'm going with review number 3 as well.
I'm going to take the bait.
It was actually review number 2.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
It was good.
Oh, you bitch. That was the only other one I considered, and I was like, nah, he wouldn't be that much of a bitch.
I've foxed everyone.
No points. At least there's 2 more reviews to salvage this podcast. Jesus Christ. You got anything to... Okay, so it was good. Very in-depth. Thank you.
Tell us your opinion on Oblivion that you didn't write down.
Yeah, you got a review for us now.
Yeah, I think this is a nifty little film. It's definitely not a 10 out of 10 or, an all-time epic or whatever. But, I'd say if you saw it on sale on Blu-ray, I'd definitely give it a buy. The story is interesting. The acting is good. It's not too kind of grand scale, which is what I quite like.
What's the plot? What are the characters?
Well, you have Tom Cruise as Jack Harper.
Is he a Captain Jack Harper?
He's not a Captain Jack Harper. He plays
what a waste.
Mechanic / pilot / combat person, who is in charge of fixing these drones and water pumps that operate around Earth, because humanity has had to flee the planet. So he's harvesting the water to convert into energy so they can...
So he's basically Wall-E. Like, humanity's left and he's just, like, maintaining the electronics.
Basically, yeah, except Wall-E gets to go to Titan afterwards, though. So you've got like remnants of an alien faction that are sticking around because they've lost the war, but the only reason they lost the war was because humanity nuked them.
Oh, so humanity fled because we got invaded by aliens.
We destroyed the planet trying to kill these things. So Tom Cruise is basically the mop-up crew. And so, without going into spoilers, because I think it is an interesting film to watch.
Oh, don't worry about spoilers. I've seen Wall-E. They come back at the end.
Oh, fuck.
I think there's a reason we've not heard of this movie as well. I'm looking at the box office. I might be reading it wrong, but I think it kind of bombed on its weekend, but did sort of all right internationally and worldwide.
Yeah, the word I would use to describe this film is underrated.
You think it's an underrated gem?
I would say it's a gem. I just think it's underrated. Like,
okay,
it's a good film. It's like a solid 7 out of 10. So yeah, I definitely give it a watch. Basically, the meat of the plot is some fuckery happens, and it kind of throws Tom Cruise's life into disarray, as you might expect.
All right. Does it present any like sci-fi concepts, like any or like cool ideas, like Live Die Repeat? You were saying, is it similar to that?
I think, to be honest, I think Live Die Repeat is a much better film.
Okay.
Like this is a very solid, if unremarkable, film. Like, I think that there aren't any like major gripes for me, to be honest. Like, the story's fine. It's like very by the book. I think if I had to criticize one thing about it, it's that it does this thing of having cinematography that's trying to be like Blade Runner 2049 throughout it.
How so?
It's got these shots, these wide shots, that on paper should look really, really beautiful, and should really take your breath away, and none of them ever do.
Interesting. Are they just like too cluttered? Are they not like striking enough?
No, if anything, there's barely anything in it. It's just like wide shots of landscapes, and I don't know if it's something to do with the way it's shot. But I was just watching this film, and throughout it, I was thinking, "Wow, I should be blown away by these shots," but I'm just really not.
Yeah, because like when I think back to Blade Runner 42049 or whatever, like one of the things about all those beautiful shots is that the place is fucked up beyond repair, or like bright orange or something.
Yeah, so like this one's got like snowy mountains. Like I can pick a few shots that I can say are similar to Blade Runner 2049.
So basically, it's like doing snowy mountains, but like you can't. It doesn't tell a story, is what I'm guessing.
It doesn't tell a story. No, it's got like a sort of wide range of different landscapes and whatever. To the point that I'm thinking, how are you getting between these so quickly? Like, you're going from like snowy mountains to desert to.
To be fair, there's no traffic. I don't know if you've driven during the well, I know if you have driven during the fucking lockdown, but it's quite nice.
All I'll say is, in my opinion, all in all, a pretty good film. A definite solid. I'd give it a watch.
Okay. Moral of the story is, Ben, put some of that stuff you were saying about the background and how it was shot. Put some of that in your review next time. Give me and Matt something to actually chew on, so we might make a guess.
No, it was good.
Like, okay, I get it. You're competitive. You want to win, but this is not the way to do it, Ben. And Matt, I must apologize. I'm sorry for throwing you off of my stuff. I honestly thought it was War of the Worlds, because keyword was Ripoff and Morgan Freeman, because War of the Worlds, like, obviously based on the book War of the Worlds, but it's nothing like War of the Worlds. If it was called any other title, it would have been fine, but it's because it was called War of the Worlds. That's what annoyed me. To talk about that real quick. And Morgan Freeman shows up at the beginning and at the very end to do some signature narrating.
Oh no, Morgan Freeman is actually like present in this one. Yeah,
he's a character in Oblivion. All right, and how many out of 5 for 10 would you give it?
I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10. It's a good film, if unremarkable.
All right,
but no major flaws. The other 2 reviews I read gave it a 10 and a 1. So
no worries. All right, really nice. Okay, so no points to either me or Matt, but onwards and upwards. Matt, say heads or tails.
Tails.
Okay, I'm going next. It seems. Was it needed? Was it needed? The answer is no. This is one of the worst sequels ever made. It's completely useless and never has a single chance to rise. The pace is awful and everything is just odd and without purpose. Despite the good cast, it was a waste of time. 1 out of 10.
So good cast, bad movie.
I'll get more specific with my other reviews. Okay, so second review. Don't compare to the original. I expected to hate this movie, and the early trailers featuring The Rock and Chris Hart were not encouraging. Going in, my low expectations were met as I endured lame teenagers, but thankfully, not for long. Once Dwayne Johnson and the others showed up, I was pleasantly surprised with how fun this movie is. That's the thing. This isn't a fight for survival like the original. It's just a fun romp that anybody can enjoy. It was a joy watching the characters struggle with their new bodies and circumstances, but I must admit, at no point did I ever feel like they were ever in any real danger. To nitpick further, not all of the comedy worked for me, but my partner was laughing constantly, so to each their own. In the end, the premise was very creative and fun, the characters were likeable and fun, and the action was over the top, wacky, and fun. Have fun watching. 8 out of 10.
So I know what movie it is, like, very clearly now.
Yeah, I definitely know what film it is.
Okay, you both know. Okay.
Yeah.
Third review. Could have been so much better. The sequel took so long to come to fruition. The most unbelievable thing is that the writing still could have been so bad. It generally feels like they cast the actors first, then wrote supposedly cool and funny scenes about them, making it feel like a bunch of unconnected sketches and action sequences than a real story. The main problem is that the humour seemed almost entirely aimed at young kids. They would love it, of course, but literally for everyone else, I don't think so. The special effects are fine and the action sequences are exciting enough, but without a half-decent story to hold it together, it all feels a bit empty. Ultimately, keep your expectations at rock bottom and you can probably just go along for the ride. 22 years later after the original, I'd highly recommend you just watch the original. 3 out of 10.
Rock bottom.
Keyword, rock bottom.
Yeah. So, I know what the movie is. Do you want to guess as well, Ben?
Yeah, did you want me to say it, or...?
We can say it at the same time.
Go ahead, guys.
After 1. 3, 2, 1,
Jumanji 2.
Jumanji 2, you are correct, yes. So you both get your first point.
Yay, points.
Have either of you watched that movie recently?
No.
I haven't seen it at all.
No, only reason I picked it is because I got it on Blu-ray it was a Christmas gift, in fact, from my peeps, along with a cake mixing set. And the original was on TV. And I thought, okay, that's a fine comparison. You know, it was all right.
Yeah. I do like the original. Like, I have memories of being a kid at a sleepover at a friend's, being fucking terrified.
Yeah, the original is scary and surreal.
But in, like, a way that's now nostalgic and likable.
The thing is, it's part nostalgia. The only part of the movie that really needs nostalgia is the spiders that come in at the very end of the movie. Because after watching that, I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, some of the CGI is bad in the original.
Yeah, yeah. Like, both movies have some questionable CGI going.
If I remember, doesn't the whole premise of the original revolve around a kid spilling a drink over his dad's drawing of a car? Isn't that what kickstarts the entire thing?
I don't think so.
Can't remember. I didn't watch the beginning. It was just on TV. Just on ITV, I think.
I mean, the original Jumanji, it starts because they find the game Jumanji.
Yeah, they find the game, but like before that, they only find the game because they're bored because the dad has stormed out.
Oh.
The theme of Jumanji is fatherhood and growing up and facing your fears and your problems. In the boy's case, it's facing his father, standing up to him, facing your childhood bullies, standing up to them, owning up, I did something wrong, i.e. putting the shoe on the conveyor belt, breaking that, and then facing your crush and giving her a bit of smooch at the end of the movie. In the new one, the moral seems to be about friendship and we're not so different, that whole thing. And, you know, it doesn't matter how many years later, Atari games are still hard as hell.
They are pretty hard.
I think it was Atari. I didn't get a good look at the console they were playing.
Yeah, I remember I started watching the modern Jumanji and then I got distracted like 10 minutes in. But I remember it like morphs noticeably into a game cartridge.
Yeah.
Which felt a bit out of place, but I suppose if you're going to see that movie, it's got to be a video game somehow.
I actually kind of like that. I figured it's a magic board game. It's got to hook people in. There was a line at the very beginning where the first kid to get kidnapped, he goes, "Who plays board games anymore?" And I'm like, I have you know, young man. You know, loads of people do. That was a boomer moment from me. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Also, like, young people now do seem to, like, they know that board games are a thing because they play, like, Catan.
Okay, I don't think we count anymore.
Oh, I don't mean us, but I mean, like, how many 13 to 18-year-olds or whatever. How old are they supposed to be in this movie? It's always ambiguous with American
Oh,
movies.
they're meant to be like 16 or something, like they're mid-years or something.
There was a load of shit on Twitter the other day about everyone just jumped back on watching Grease.
Really?
I guess they showed it on TV in America or something, and there were a load of memes about the directors casting the original Grease, and they're like, "Hey, this is supposed to be 18," and it's just a picture of in Benjamin Button where he's 90 years old, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're casting Grease. Get the fucking Prince Philip."
Oh, before I have a tendency to give away too much of what I think in my movies during the discussion bit. So either of you want to venture a guess as to which reviews were my reviews?
You want to go first, Ben?
Yeah, sure. I'll say the second one is yours.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, the 8 out of 10 don't compare to the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're both correct. Another point to the pair of you.
Also, you mentioned Anne-Marie in it.
I kind of. I thought that was ambiguous enough. My partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, she found it really funny. She also found it quite empowering as a woman. Women coming together.
Yeah. Of the scenes I have seen, I did I watched the bit where they get their new bodies and they don't make it creepy. That was quite fun and funny. The girl in the body of Jack Black, and the weird part would be if while they were in the game, Jack Black was suddenly in a teenage girl, and then they had to make a companion movie about video game characters with no concept of the real world trying to live in modern America while being teenage girls.
Oh God.
I think we should make that movie.
I don't think so.
I think we should. Just imagine someone going from The Rock to being whoever his fucking character was. And he's just I'm so small.
The inverse of the movie. That would be...
Yeah, exactly.
No, but okay, going into this movie, my expectations were quite low because I'm okay, we're making Jumanji, sure, cash grab, click, click, click. Has plenty of fun nods. Starts where the last movie finished. So Jumanji is washed up on a beach. Some guy finds it in the sand, brings it home. Okay, that's pretty neat. Kid gets sucked in. I like the nods to the rhyming warnings.
Yes.
The poetry. Love some threatening poetry in my board game movies. Also, at the end of the movie, you see the shape of the board in the map. It was a fun little Easter egg and stuff. But I think that's as deep as the fun Easter eggs go, outside of seeing the chess pieces dotted around all over the place.
Considering the way they've changed it, I don't know how much you could do Easter eggs. You can't bring Robin Williams back.
They bring Alan Parrish's home in a little bit. As in where Alan Parrish lived when he was in the jungle.
I suppose on the video game box you could have a reference to Zathura, also made by this publisher.
That would have been. That should be the next one. They should make Jumanji 3 Space Cadets. Ultimately, any problems I have with this, the reason I gave it an 8 out of 10, any problems I had with this movie were just tiny little nitpicks. So first of all, the villains of the movie. They shouldn't exist outside of cutscenes, because there's scenes where the bad guy is berating his minions for not catching them, and he's doing bad guy stuff, and I'm but you're not even a real person in the slightest. The game has made it quite clear that you're AIs that have a limited number of responses. Everything you're doing is meaningless. I don't care about you people. They should. This is my little video game nerd going off. The bad guy should have been waiting at the end of the game in his level, waiting to activate for when the protagonists show up. At which point he activates and starts doing his routine boss battle bits, if you know what I mean.
It is interesting how movies try and capture stuff that would be in games.
Yeah.
There's a, I can't remember if it's Cronenberg or someone else, but there's a kind of body horror-y movie where it's set in essentially a future world where you can do VR gaming, but obviously hyper realistic and you can feel everything. And it has this one interesting idea about video games.
Yeah.
Which is, if a video game becomes so real that you're basically almost the person in the game, what happens when the game needs you to do something for the story that you don't want to do? And it's a really interesting scene, and no one's ever done it again since in a movie.
To get back into it then, my final nitpick is, I did like this movie, I promise, is, yeah, the teenager at the beginning, they're all lame. Me and my mother actually agreed on this. We watched it last Christmas together. She actually hated the characters at the beginning so much, she threatened to leave Christmas unless we put a different movie on.
I mean, to be fair, only lame nerds play video games.
No. She just hated the people. She hated the Instagram girl. She hated the stupid. She hates teenagers,
Yeah.
especially American teenagers. She hated it so much she threatened to leave Christmas unless we put a different movie on. And that's the story of how we watched Die Hard again. I'm not complaining.
I mean, there are no teenagers in Die Hard, so it's got a point.
Yeah, but yeah, 8 out of 10. It's fun. It's funny. It's over the top and it's funny, and it takes enough. And it's not insulting to gamers. Yeah, and that was Jumanji 2. Welcome to the Jumanji 2. Welcome to Jumanji 2. That was Jumanji 2. Welcome to the jungle. Not a sequel.
Jungle 2. Welcome to Jumanji.
Yeah, don't compare the two. It's not a sequel, but it is, but it's not really.
8 out of 10. A fun film, and Die Hard 4 is really good.
Oh yeah. All right, Mr. Matthew. Your reviews, if you want to hit us.
Right. Review number 1. Do you guys want to hear the scores first on these reviews or at the end?
Nah, hit us at the end.
Okay. This review is titled, I haven't seen the whole series yet, but this is promising. I predicted a lot of the beats in this movie. For example, and then this is spoiler tagged, but it doesn't matter, Harrison Ford's betrayal I saw coming a mile away. The trick at the very end predicted entirely. Lots of little twists all the way through, all predictable. But I can't fault it because it's fun. It's a fun movie. I had fun.
Very similar to my review, I think.
It's not over yet, there's more review. This movie is so well known among film types that I'd heard so many facts about the production and the history before watching it that I almost didn't have to watch entire scenes, but in a satisfying way, because I saw them actually happening. Overall, the details didn't matter because the feeling of adventure was there throughout and I couldn't keep my eyes off it. 9 out of 10.
I have a strong suspicion of what this could be. I think, based on the words used and making predictions, Mr. Smarty Pants, I think this might be your review. But we'll see. Do you want to hit us with your number 2?
Number 2. Not only the best of the series, but a top-notch movie on its own. I just recently rewatched the whole trilogy, brackets, it's a trilogy, period. And this is by far the best installment. Everything is absolutely on point. Harrison Ford has the character absolutely fleshed out at this point. The chemistry with the amazing Blank is perfect, the writing is on point, unlike the previous two. 30 years later the humour doesn't feel dated at all, and the directing is top shelf Blank. I had this as a 9 out of 10 before, but it absolutely deserves a 10 out of 10, and I highly recommend it to everybody. 10 out of 10. That's review number 2.
Cool.
And the third review has a lot of obvious spoilers in the title and the first line, so I'm going to blank them out and replace them with things. It's better than the second movie in this series, but not as fresh as the original movie in this series. Blank isn't on the same level as the first movie in this series. It doesn't have that film's depth and it doesn't have its freshness, but what it does have is enough exciting and innovative action to keep your interest. It also has a touching new wrinkle, a father and son relationship. The relationship isn't explored as deeply as you would see in a drama, and that's okay, because this is, after all, an action movie. It's given just enough attention to make us care about what happens to these characters during the adventures. It's also a good source of laughs and warmth. Blank is just good enough to make us forget about the bitterness of the second movie and appreciate the first movie that much more. 8 out of 10.
The third guy didn't like the second movie, really.
He didn't like the second movie.
Ben, do you know what the movie is?
I've got a pretty strong inkling as to what it is, yes.
Alright. Yeah, same. Alright, we'll say it at the same time. 3,
Cool.
2, 1.
Indiana Jones and the
3.
Last Crusade.
It is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and I was trying very hard to make you think it was Star Wars Episode 7, with Harrison Ford getting betrayed in the middle and the father-son relationship.
I didn't think it was anything other than Indiana Jones. I thought, during that first review, I thought maybe it's Blade Runner-ish, with like twist endings and stuff, but then, no, the other two solidified it.
Yeah, I didn't think of that, actually. I can't believe that, and I'm sorry if this is you, Matt, I can't believe that there are people in the world that don't like this film.
I can't believe there's people that don't like the second film. I haven't watched them in a really long time, but like all three of those movies are stellar.
You know, I to be honest, I think if you said to me, I don't like the first one, okay, that's interesting. I don't agree with you in the slightest, but sure.
You're objectively wrong.
If you don't like the second one, okay, you know, it's got a lot of dark shit in there. That's acceptable, I suppose. Again, don't agree with you.
It does mention the bitterness of Temple.
Yeah. The third one, nah, man, no, just no. It's just a film that everyone should like.
Yeah.
It's just so wonderful.
Yeah.
It is a very likable movie.
Absolutely.
And I'm not spoiling anything with that because all of the reviews were like at least 8 out of 10. So you still have to guess which one was mine.
Yeah, they were pretty positive. I think, okay, my guess, I think it's review number 1.
Okay.
Because I don't think he had the time to watch the whole trilogy over the weekend. And because I didn't give you the most notice that we're bringing it back. But I think it's review number 1. Mr. Analysis Man.
I'm gonna take a gamble here and say I think it's number
Interesting.
2.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh God, I don't want to lose.
Well, it is review number 1. It's review number 1.
Yeah.
Stuart was right, and Ben, you're a real piece of shit, Ben.
You're
Yeah.
a terrible friend for not liking me.
You should know me better than that.
I hate you.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. It's a good movie, and I somehow hadn't seen it yet.
To be fair, I've only seen bits of that movie. I've not actually watched the whole thing in its entirety before.
Wait, what?
So I'm in the same boat.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I still haven't seen the second one.
I'm dead serious. It's just one of those movies. Like I've said this before in previous episodes. I know it's going to be good, so why should I bother?
See, I don't have I know it's going to be good, so why bother? I know the gist, and I've heard so much about it that, like...
That too.
I wouldn't even be, like, caught out for not having seen it. Like, people wouldn't even be able to tell.
It's one of those rare films that I just, like, rewatch constantly. Even though I know all the beats, all the scenes, everything that's going to happen, there's just something so wonderful, especially when Sean Connery turns up, about watching...
He is a good Sean.
Yeah, Harrison Ford and Sean Connery on screen is just delightful. It really is.
He's definitely up there with the Sheep and Top Sean.
Oh my God.
Fuck me.
So what? Just out of interest, what would you give this out of 10?
I gave it a 9.
A 9?
Yeah. I mean, you should have listened to my review, Ben.
So just to be clear then, you did like the first and second one?
I liked the first one. I haven't seen the second one, and I liked the third one.
I've only seen bits of the second one as well. I've only seen the first one in its entirety. I haven't actually watched the other
I could
two.
have watched the second one over the weekend, but my girlfriend was here, and she was telling me that the third one is the go-to really good one. So we watched that one.
She has her head screwed on. Yes.
Yeah.
It is absolutely that one.
I said, do you have to have seen the second one? She said no, and we watched it.
That's the thing is, not a lot of people know this, but I think I think it's one of those fun facts that are sort of known by everyone, but people like to act like it's not that well known. The second movie, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, is actually a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Is it?
Yeah, that blew my mind.
Yeah, it's a prequel. It's set before those events, but that's the nature of it. It's just an adventure film. It's not a big story. It's not leading anywhere.
Yeah, there's no like overarching series arc, I guess. So it just doesn't tell you in Temple of Doom directly that it's a prequel.
No, the only clue is like the date, I think. But even then, it's not important. Is the thing.
Yeah. I do like in this one that they show Harrison Ford as a kid, and he looks nothing like a young Harrison Ford.
But they do explain where he got his chin
scar. Yeah.
That's very important to the lore.
Which Harrison Ford, I assume, got from crashing a plane, because he did everything by crashing plane. Hang on, how did Harrison Ford get his scar? How did Harrison Ford get his face fucked up? Oh, Harrison Ford finally explains why he punched Ryan Gosling.
Wait, what?
Okay, let's replace fucked up with scar.
He did what?
That's how he got it. He travelled back in time to prevent the birth of Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling fought back and was actually the Terminator, and that's how he got the scar.
Sorry. Let's rewind a bit. Harrison Ford punched Ryan Gosling.
Apparently, and also he got the scar from a serious car accident when he was 20 years old. Let's see, Harrison Ford finally explains why he punched Ryan Gosling in the face. Late last year, Ryan Gosling revealed that he was inadvertently punched in the face by Harrison Ford during filming Blade Runner sequel 2049.
Oh, thank God.
Prompting many to ask just how such an incident came to be. Let me just skim to the point.
Oh, I thought he hated him. Okay.
Hang on, listen to this bit of the story, right? In the December edition of GQ magazine, Gosling claimed the incident was, quote, a rite of passage, explaining, "We were just doing a fight scene and, it just happened. But what was funny was, when it was over, they brought ice for my face, and Harrison pushed me out of the way and stuck his fist in the ice." According to...
Okay.
Hang on. According to a typically taciturn Ford in this month's GQ magazine, it only happened because, quote, Ryan Gosling's face was where it shouldn't have been. Oh, he just doesn't give a shit. It's amazing. What were you going to say? I was enjoying that too much.
Well, I was going to say, with that, before we get on to our third game, I'll tell you why we need a third game in a minute. What do you think we've learnt this month regarding from our romps in the action-adventure franchise?
I learned how very forgettable Skyfall can be.
Wow. What? What?
Oh.
I also watched it with my girlfriend, and literally later that same day, I had a moment where I was like, I literally said, did we watch a movie today? And she was like, did we? And we'd watched Skyfall. Like, we paid money on Prime to see Skyfall, and we'd both completely forgotten that we'd actually watched a movie.
Was it between Indiana Jones and Skyfall that you reviewed? What other ones did you watch this week?
Just those two, I think. Unless I'm forgetting everything and I watched some more movies. Maybe I watched Quantum of Solace and I have no idea.
I like Skyfall a lot.
I mean, it was likable, but I literally forgot I'd watched a movie. Like, it took us a good half a minute to remember the movie we had watched.
Okay. Ben, you liked Skyfall.
To be honest, I'm going to have a bit of a controversial opinion and say I actually like all of that Bond trilogy, even Quantum of Solace.
It's not a trilogy, or is it?
It kind of is.
If you only count 3 of them, it's a trilogy.
They're kind of all interlinked. Those 3 Bond films, like Casino Royale through to Skyfall, I like all of those. Even Quantum of Solace, and I've spoken to people who really dislike it, and it got to the point where I thought, is there something wrong with me? Why do I like Quantum of Solace and everyone else seems to hate it? And the main reason that I got from talking to someone about it is that they asked me to tell them the plot of the film, which I didn't realise was that important when it came to James Bond films. I just thought it was,
cool action stuff where you just follow
James Bond stuff. Yeah, it's not as good as the other two, but it's by no means a bad film.
What is the plot of Quantum of Solace?
James Bond needs to stop a private businessman who's Dominic Green, I think his name was. He's played by a French actor who I can't remember his name right now.
Okay, you've gone into production details, I assume, because the plot is boring, and you haven't told me what he needs to stop him doing.
Yeah, no. The plot is James Bond needs to stop this undercover mysterious organization, from taking over a country and creating a water crisis in South America.
I like the idea of the British government being against private interests in South America. That's certainly realistic.
But yes, I'll say it's the weakest of the 3, but it's not a bad film. And Skyfall is a good film. It's a good Bond film. I think it's kind of overshadowed by Casino Royale. For me, I think it's probably the best Bond film ever made.
Really? You didn't watch Die Another Day?
Oh my!
He surfs on a laser iceberg or something.
That is Die Another Day. I really hate it when people say that that's what Bond should be.
See, I think it's the idea of what Bond was, but just in a way that hits very differently and just doesn't quite work. Because, the silliness is fun, but, the shot is just so ugly and underproduced.
It's so stupid.
That, just kind of feels shit.
That idea harkens back to, what we were saying about what you always say about Star Wars, and, sometimes the sequels, sometimes the prequels a lot more so. It doesn't feel like a Star Wars film. It doesn't feel like a James Bond film. I say nothing needs to feel like anything. Just make a good movie.
I think it should. If the tone is off, then the tone is off.
Does that matter with action movies, do you think, then?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, if they're part of a series, Like if I watched John Wick 5 or whatever they're up to, and it was like just clearly a Bourne movie or something, I'd feel a bit pissed.
Yeah.
I guess in my mind, arguments like that, like X and Y doesn't feel like so this franchise doesn't feel like it should do, sort of stints creativity a bit and stops creatives from trying to take a franchise to new interesting places because they're so afraid of backlash they've just got to keep it formula.
I really disagree. I really, really disagree.
There's a line, I guess.
There's a like, you can take it too far, I think. Like, okay, I'm going to use the Star Wars example here, right?
Okay,
Go for it.
The reason that I don't like or didn't like The Last Jedi was the tone.
Okay.
It felt off. There was too much kind of comedy, too many forced laughs. It felt like they were talking to the camera at certain points.
Yeah.
That's the reason I didn't like that film. That's what put me off of it. It broke my immersion and it took me right out of it and reminded me, oh shit, I'm stuck in the cinema watching something that I don't want to watch.
See, that's the one where like the debate gets really interesting because you felt a difference in tone where like, you know, me and, for example, like Amy didn't at all. Like that movie felt completely Star Wars beginning to end to me in a way that like too many jokes didn't bother me because they were, you know, Star Warsy jokes.
We could debate Star Wars all day, but I see your point.
All I'm going to say is that, like, I think that you could have done what you did with The Last Jedi with basically any sci-fi, like, franchise. I think you could have made a totally new film out of it, and it could have been its own thing, and it would have been fine.
Okay.
I don't think that you should change the tone of something just for the sake of changing the tone of something, because that's just going to piss off a lot of people.
See, that's interesting because, like, again, I didn't get a different tone. I got the same tone, but with different, like, things on top. Whereas you got the idea that it looked the same but felt different. I got the same that it felt the same but looked different. And I think that's kind of why arguing about it is so impossible.
Break away from Star Wars abruptly-ish, but I was thinking, what would be your opinion if they said, okay, we're going to turn John Wick into Jason Bourne?
I hate that because I go into John Wick to watch a kind of global romp, you know, like globe trotting,
over the top, over the
not like over the top slightly, but it never gets to the point where it's like, you know, they're like blowing up cities or countries or anything like that, or, you know, it's contained within the walls it sets for itself in terms of like the spectacle of its action.
Well, it's usually contained within its own crime world.
It is, but like that crime world never gets to the point where it's like, okay, right, there's a criminal and he runs like this entire city in a really over the top way, and you know he's got like fucking death squads out, and we're gonna blow it all up, you know.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of death squads and running New York in John Wick.
There are, but it's like it never gets to the point where it's like you're blowing up buildings in New York. They fight in the library. They fight in the stable.
Yeah. Well, they're still trying to keep everything secret, which I suppose is a bit different.
Yeah. That's what I like about it, right? And there's a lot of action, there's a lot of gore to it, and there's a lot of like over the top kills. If you change that to Jason Bourne, which takes itself very, very, very seriously and is very quite slow in a lot of its, like, in the first three films at least.
I don't think it's fair to call Jason Bourne slow, but go ahead. I know what you mean.
I go into Jason Bourne to get that feeling. I go into Jason Bourne to get the kind of build up of a mystery and, you know, like what's going to happen. Oh, I don't know.
Shaky camera
and that kind of serious, dark, gritty. This could actually happen in the real world type vibe. It's just confusing, like the film's purpose if you start fucking about with tone, like halfway through a series.
They've done movie series where like the third movie is a totally different genre, but it still feels like the same universe and has the same tone. Think about how different Mad Max Fury Road feels from the first Mad Max, which confused me when I watched it because I'd only seen Mad Max Fury Road.
I'm not gonna lie, I've only seen Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, okay.
With that, it's 2 points each. Thank you very much, Ben. You didn't swing the scores in the slightest. I thought, oh, let's have 3 reviews this time. That will help balance things. Now, Ben decided to fuck us.
To be fair, it's less likely for the person hosting to be guaranteed a win.
Yeah, that is true. Anyway. So with that, we're gonna have to play a third game. Wow, shooting blanks.
Pew, 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 pew. Ben, say pew.
First off, Ben, pick heads or tails.
Tails.
Tails, correct. So to decide who's going to come in first place, we're going to play shooting blanks. So to start off, Ben, followed by the loser of this round, will read out a synopsis, but with words blanked out. And the quickest to guess the movie will win the round. Without further ado, Ben, if you'd like to read out your synopsis.
Absolutely. A family struggles for survival in a world where most humans have been killed by blank. They are forced to communicate...
A Quiet Place.
You are correct.
Yay!
Oh, God damn.
Oh man, I like winning these because it makes me feel good.
Does that leave it between you and Ben?
It's between me and Ben. So Matt, if you wanna, so that with me winning that round, Matt unfortunately is out of the game. You're eliminated. So Matt, if you want to find a movie and do the same thing, Matt is now going to read out his movie, and me and Ben are going to race to the finish. All to play for here. This will be the decider to find out who wins this episode of Walked Out. Matt, without further ado, shoot us with your blanks.
At an archaeological dig in the ancient city of Blank, an American serving in the French Foreign Legion accidentally awakes a Blank, who begins to wreak havoc.
The Mummy.
Hey, it's the Mummy.
Is it?
Well done, Ben. Yeah, he's in the French Foreign Legion, which I didn't know.
Which mummy? The original mummy?
No, it's the original Mummy. I had no
Oh,
idea
damn.
he was in the French Foreign Legion in that.
Oh, that means okay.
Ben wins.
Well, that means Ben, first time on, you are our winner.
Turns out the trick to winning is to make a one-word review.
Oh, shit, yeah.
With your one-word review, I hope you're happy with your with your cheap win.
Well, it was 3 words. It is good. Isn't
It is good.
Right, and I'm going to pretend that this was the plan all along. Ben, as the winner, you get to choose next week's topic. That's not the way. We're just going to keep it in an
You
order.
get to choose review.
So Ben, next you get to choose next week's topic. Next month's, I should say. Sorry, we're going to do these once a month, 12 episodes a year, every year for the next 20 years straight, and we'll go from there. Hit us, Ben.
I am going to select the topic of New Zealand.
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
All right.
I can't do the accent, but fuck it.
Da 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 da. I'm a New Zealander. Barry. Okay, I'm gonna do my. Okay, we've got 1 month. Watch some movies, write some reviews. I'll see you guys. Okay, so I've been Stuart.
I've been Matt.
It was good.
It was good. Yeah, that was Ben. So you can follow us on Spotify, iTunes, all the ones. They're all. I'm going to link them in the descriptions. This is also going to be available on YouTube. I'm going to upload all of these along with all our previous episodes. They're all going to be on channel Strobertat on YouTube. You can also follow us at Walked Out Pod on Twitter. You can also follow me at Strobertat on Twitter. I think I've already made my yearly post now. I think it was something about how much I enjoy coffee and keeping me awake. You can follow Matt at NimSudo on Twitter, and you can follow Ben in real life. He needs a good stalking.
Yeah, just whenever he's out for a walk late at night, just show up behind him, you know?
Yeah, just show up and
start humming the Jaws theme.
That's a good way to do it. But with that, I'll see you guys next time.
And just chase him with some cheese. He loves cheese.
Bye. Bye.
Adios.
Adios.